President William Ruto has officially bought ODM party. Welcome to Kenya Lens Media, where we give you news updates the way they break. If you're new here, kindly consider subscribing. Now, President William Ruto has nominated Canon Dr. Ida Betty Odinga as Kenya's ambassador and permanent representative to the United Nations Environment Program, UNEP, a high-profile diplomatic post based in Nairobi. The nomination, announced on Friday by the head of public service, Felix Kosgei, now awaits approval by the National Assembly. If confirmed, Ida Odinga would represent Kenya as the world's leading environmental body at a time when climate diplomacy and multilateral engagement are gaining renewed urgency. Remember, Oburu Odinga's son, Jaoko Oburu, was also employed in parliament, and now Ida Odinga, the prominent elders of the family of Oginga Odinga, who are so vocal, they are now in government positions. And remember also, Winnie Odinga was promised to be given the principal secretary of some cabinet ministry, of which it has not been confirmed. But if it is confirmed, that means the Odinga family will be in the broad-based government, and therefore William Ruto shall have succeeded in buying the ODM party from the Odinga family. Now, the appointment immediately drew national attention because the Ida Odinga's public profile and her long association with the veteran opposition leader and former Prime Minister Raila Odinga coming amid broader diplomatic reshuffles and shifting political alliances ahead of the 2027 general election. The nomination has injected new debate into Kenya's foreign policy priorities and domestic political calculations. UNEP is the only United Nations headquarters located in a developing country and has been based in Nairobi since 1972. The agency coordinates a global environmental policy on climate change, biodiversity, pollution, and sustainable development. According to UNEP's official mandate, host country engagement is central to its work, placing Kenya in a uniquely influential position within international environment diplomacy. In the official statement, Kosgei said that the President Ruto exercised his constitutional prerogative to nominate Ida Odinga in recognition to her lifelong service and commitment to women education, social justice, and public advocacy. The government framed the nomination as part of the broader strategy to strengthen Kenya's standing in multilateral institutions and reinforce its leadership on environmental and sustainable development issues. But however, we all know that William Ruto had promised and had soon that ODM will not break down, or rather will not dissociate, and that UDA is ready to accommodate the ODM party in as much as they want to keep the legacy of Raila Odinga. Therefore, giving Ida Odinga, or rather nominating Ida Odinga to UNEP, is one sign that William Ruto wants to win hearts of the Odinga family so that they can sell the party to him wholeheartedly. Under Kenya's constitution, ambassadorial nominations must be vetted and approved by the National Assembly, a process designed to ensure transparency and accountability in senior public appointments. Beyond diplomacy, the appointment carries clear political symbolism. Ida Odinga is widely known as a prominent educationist, a church leader, and civil society advocate. She has also been a visible figure alongside Raila Odinga during decades of opposition politics. Her nomination by the president from a rival political camp has therefore been interpreted as a signal of political outreach and accommodation. Reuters has previously noted that President William Ruto has pursued a strategy of broadening his political base through dialogue and cooperation with opposition figures following the tense 2022 elections. The UNEP nomination fits within this pattern, blending technocratic diplomacy with the political bridge building. However, critics argue that such appointments risk blurring the line between national interest and political expediency. Transparency International Kenya has cautioned that diplomatic postings should prioritize competency and policy coherence to avoid perceptions of patronage, particularly in sensitive international roles. The nomination also lands at a delicate moment for the Orange Democratic Movement (ODM). Since the 2022 elections, ODM has faced internal debates over whether to cooperate with the ruling United Democratic Alliance (UDA) or rebuild a more assertive opposition identity. Analysts describe the party as divided between pragmatists who favor engagement with the government and reformists who fear the erosion of ODM's traditional opposition role. According to the International Crisis Group, opposition parties across Africa often struggle with cohesion after electoral defeat, especially when long-serving leaders reduce their day-to-day political environment to reflect, or rather with the leadership disputes and strategic uncertainty becoming more visible. Ida Odinga's nomination has therefore become part of the larger conversation within ODM about political direction, generational change, and the party's relationship with state power. The UNEP nomination followed closely on a broader diplomatic reshuffle announced earlier in the week. President Ruto's reassigned Babu Namwamba, Kenya's initial representative to the UNEP, as the High Commissioner to Uganda. Namwamba replaced Joash Mangi, who was deployed to Brussels to represent Kenya to the European Commission. Such reshuffles are not usual, but their timing has amplified attention on the UNEP post. According to the Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, Kenya periodically reviews diplomatic deployments to align them with emerging foreign policy priorities, regional dynamics, and performance assessments. The changes suggest an effort by the administration to reposition experienced political figures in strategically important missions, both regionally and globally. Ida Odinga's career spans education, religious leadership, and civil society activism. She has served as a school administrator, education advocate, and also patron of initiatives focused on girls' education and community empowerment. Academic studies on women leadership in East Africa often cite her as an example of the non-electoral influence shaping public discourse on social development. While she has not previously held a formal diplomatic post, supporters argue that the UNEP's mandate requires not only technical expertise but also moral authority, advocacy skills, and the ability to mobilize stakeholders. UNEP itself emphasizes partnerships with the governments, civil society, and faith-based organizations as part of its environmental agenda. The National Assembly's vetting process will be a critical test. Lawmakers are expected to examine Ida Odinga's qualification, vision for Kenya's role at UNEP, and potential conflicts of interest. Previous vetting hearings have shown that Parliament can be an active arena for contestation over high-profile appointments, particularly those with the political implications. The outcome will not only determine the fate of the nomination but also signal how Parliament balances diplomatic considerations with the political accountability. Kenya's engagement with UNEP has long been a point of national pride. Hosting the UN agency has enhanced Nairobi's status as a global diplomatic hub and contributed to the country's soft power. According to a 2019 assessment by the United Nations office in Nairobi, UNEP's presence has generated economic benefits and elevated Kenya's influence in environmental negotiations. Successful governments have therefore treated UNEP-related appointments as strategically important. The current nomination continues with the tradition while reflecting changing political realities and leadership styles. Ida Odinga's nomination as Kenya's ambassador to UNEP matters for several reasons. Diplomatically, it underscores Kenya's intent to remain a central player in global environmental governance at a time of escalating climate changes. Politically, it highlights evolving relationships between the ruling administration and opposition-linked figures, raising questions about the future shape of Kenya's multi-party democracy. As the country looks towards the 2027 elections, decisions that blend diplomacy with domestic politics will shape public trust party cohesion, and Kenya's international standing, and the National Assembly's verdict on this nomination will therefore resonate beyond one individual appointment, offering insight into how Kenya balances experience, inclusivity, and accountability in its engagement with the world. That is all for today from Kenya Lens Media, and if you are new here, kindly we request you to subscribe as a way of supporting this platform.